Hey guys, Nitish here. Hope you are doing well. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make kimchi. Kimchi is a traditional Korean dish which is made by fermenting cabbage or any other kind of vegetables with lactic acid bacteria, which are probiotics that are really beneficial for our gut health. It is usually served as a side dish with most of the meals in Korean culture, and making it at home is a little lengthy process, but it's totally worth it and so much fun. So let's begin. Okay, so we're gonna begin with cutting this giant Chinese cabbage, which is also known as Napa cabbage, into quarters, and this one right here weighs about 1.8 kilo. We are gonna cut in half lengthwise from the center like so, keeping the core attached to hold the leaves together, and then cut these two halves into halves again from the center to get the quarters. After cutting the cabbage, the next step is gonna be brining it. For that, we're gonna need a big non-reactive container like this one, where they're gonna sit for quite a long time, and total 100 grams of coarse sea salt, which will be divided equally between the 4 quarters, so we are going to be using 25 grams of salt for each of them. Now we're gonna sprinkle the salt between each layer of the cabbage, and as you are sprinkling, make sure to put some more salt in the core as it's quite thicker than the leaves. Now what this brining step is gonna do is draw the water out from the cabbage, is gonna make it tender and pliable, and is also gonna help absorb all the seasonings and flavors later on. Once done salting, we are gonna place them in the container, then rearrange them and give them a firm press so they are all nice and cozy. Then cover the container with a lid or a plastic wrap and let them sit at room temperature for about 6 hours. Now while the cabbage is in the brining process, we are going to make our kimchi paste that we are going to be using to marinate the cabbage. For that, we are gonna need 11 sprigs of green onion. We are gonna chop their heads off, cut them into 2-inch segments, and then transfer them to a large non-reactive bowl. Next is daikon, which is a type of root vegetable also known as Japanese radish. It is slightly spicy, subtly sweet in flavor, and has delightfully crunchy texture. We are just gonna need about 350 grams of it, so we are gonna cut it in half, then peel the skin off, and then cut it into 1/4 inch thick and 4 inches long matchsticks. Then we are gonna need 250 grams carrot. We are gonna peel its skin off and then cut it into 4 inches long matchsticks, same as daikon, but a little thinner, about 1/8 of an inch thick. Then I have ginger, about 30 grams, which we are gonna peel using a teaspoon like so, and then grate it real fine directly into the bowl. Then we are gonna need 50 grams of garlic. We are gonna cut its head off, hit it with the back of the knife to loosen up the skin, then peel them and grate real fine as well. Then I got Asian pear, about 350 grams, which is really aromatic and have a sweet and tart flavor with some delicate floral notes. And then a Fuji apple, about 300 grams, which is also sweet and tart in flavor, but with the slight notes of honey and citrus. We are gonna peel both their skin off and grate them through the finer side of the box grater so they are almost like a puree. Next, we are gonna add 50 grams honey, 70 milliliters fish sauce, and 35 grams shrimp paste, which is made with small shrimps that are finely crushed, then mixed with the salt, and then fermented for several weeks. And since it's a lacto-fermented product, it's gonna help jumpstart the kimchi fermentation right from the beginning, and is gonna help the lactic acid metabolize more quickly. Next, I have kombu, which is a type of seaweed. You will see a thin layer of whitish powder on it, which somewhat looks like a mold, but it's not. It's in fact an amino acid known as glutamine. It is a great source of wonderful umami, and it naturally rises to the surface of the seaweed when it is dried out. It is quite tough and spiky to touch, so we're gonna soak it in the water for like 3 to 4 minutes just to make it a little softer, and then using a kitchen shears, cut it into thin strips about 1/4 of an inch thick. Then we are gonna add 250 grams gochugaru, which is a type of Korean red pepper flakes made from sun-dried Korean chilies. They are very bright red in color and have a rounded sweet and spicy flavor. Now the final thing that we are gonna add to all these ingredients is this thick gooey paste, which is going to work as a binding agent. And to make that, in a sauce pot, we are gonna add 400 milliliters water and 40 grams sweet glutinous rice flour. Then whisk them together and cook them over a medium-low heat while whisking the mixture continuously to prevent it from burning and sticking to the bottom of the pot. And we are gonna keep whisking until it reaches to a very thick gooey consistency, which kind of looks like a glue. Then we are gonna kill the heat, let it cool down for like 5 minutes. Then transfer it to the bowl and toss all of them until they are all mixed thoroughly. Then cover the bowl with a plastic wrap and refrigerate for like 5 hours so all those amazing flavors have enough time to melt together. And after 3 hours, when the cabbage is halfway in the brining process, we are gonna flip them so the top layer becomes the bottom layer, then cover them again and let them sit for like another 3 hours. And after total 6 hours, you will see the cabbage has shrunk in size and has lost a good amount of water. And you will know they are done brining when you are able to bend them at a 90-degree angle across the stem just like this without breaking it. Now we are gonna fill the container with some ice cold water and rinse the cabbage for multiple times to get rid of the excess salt. And as you are rinsing, I want you to keep tasting the cabbage to make sure that the level of salt in the cabbage is to your liking. And once we are satisfied with the salt level, we are gonna squeeze out the water from the leaves and place them in a non-reactive container. Now the next step is marinating the cabbage. But before we start, we are gonna wear the rubber gloves to keep our hands safe from getting stains from the gochugaru and all that funky fishy smell from the shrimp paste. Then grab a handful of the kimchi paste and rub each layer of the cabbage generously and keep going until the cabbage is completely covered in it. Then we are gonna flip the cabbage and rub the outer layer with the marinade as well and continue the same with the rest of the cabbage. Once they are all lathered up with the kimchi paste, we are gonna transfer them to a 5 liters capacity mason jar, which is just perfect for this much quantity of kimchi. Cause after we stuff everything in the jar, there should be some space left on top of the kimchi so it can breathe and doesn't overflow during the fermentation process. Now we are gonna push them down with the muddler so they are all snugly and settled comfortably in the jar. Then cover it tightly with the lid, store in a dark place and let it ferment for 2 days at room temperature. During this initial fermentation at room temperature, you are going to see a lot of air bubbles showing up in the jar because of all the gases that are being produced, which indicates that the fermentation process has begun. And these gases can literally break our jar, which technically makes it a live bomb sitting in our kitchen. So to save it from blasting, we are gonna open the lid after every 12 hours to release those gases, then cover it tightly with the lid again and put it back in the same place until the 2-day fermentation process is completed. And after fermenting the kimchi for 2 days at room temperature, we are gonna store it in the refrigerator at the temperature of anywhere between 2 to 4 degrees Celsius and let it slowly ferment for another 12 days. And after total 14 days, our kimchi is finally ready. Now let's pull one of the kimchi pieces out of the jar, place it on a cutting board, then cut it into 2 to 3 inches thick strips like so. Then place it in a small bowl, sprinkle some toasted sesame seeds, then drizzle some sesame oil, and eat this thing. This kimchi has turned out absolutely amazing and so much better than the ones I tried from the market in the past. It has got a really good crunch and I must say that all the flavors in it have melted together quite beautifully because of the additional slow fermentation in the refrigerator. It's sweet, sour, salty and spicy all at the same time, and this is the stage where I like my kimchi the best. Now that we are done with the eating part, we are gonna press the kimchi with the muddler again to make sure it's always submerged in the brine so it doesn't get any mold, and then store it back in the refrigerator. Just make sure that the temperature is always between 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. And since it's a live thing, it's gonna continue to ferment, which will affect the taste and the texture of it over time. It is going to be good for long 6 to 8 months, but in my case it's not gonna last for that long. And when the kimchi starts to get mushy, you will know that the fermentation process has ended and it will start to go bad after that stage. Okay, so I had a lot of fun making this kimchi and I hope you guys will have some fun too making it. And if you make it, let me know in the comments how it turned out for you. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, you know what to do. Give this video a like, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye.